The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
Hare Krishna, everyone. You're listening to the Nam Ras Podcast, the number one Hare Krishna podcast in the world. I'm very honored to have Basu Ghosh Prabhu here with us. Thank you so much, Basu Ghosh Prabhu, for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Basu Ghosh Prabhu, for those of you who don't know, is a is one of the leadership in ISKCON in India. Originally American from Chicago, but spent 40, 50 years in India?
Yeah, since 74 February. So 50 has crossed.
Yeah, started the project in Baroda in Gujarat.
Not really started.
Not really started.
I took it over.
Took it over. Okay. And you said it's going to be now.
Should I give a little self-introduction?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Yeah, go ahead.
So I joined ISKCON I moved into the temple in February 73. I was 17, which is 18 in India, but I was still legally underage.
Wow.
My parents were liberals. It's your life, you can do what you want.
Right.
Which in India is called Jio Jeene Do, live and let live.
Right.
And that was in Evanston, which is where Northwestern University is located. It's famous for Northwestern. Mm-hmm. It's the first suburb north of Chicago. There's just a Howard Street that divides Evanston from Chicago. It's on the North Shore, Lake Michigan. So I was in the temple a year, got initiated in December 73 by post. We didn't see Prabhupada in 73. It was a bit too far for us to go to New York or Dallas or Los Angeles. Our temple president did meet Prabhupada in Los Angeles. I don't know how that happened.
What's that?
Noise from my phone.
Oh, it's from your phone? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not my phone.
So, it was actually Jasomati Nandan Prabhu who passed away. He was the chief of ISKCON Gujarat.
Right.
He was in Chicago. He went away. He came back in December and he asked me, do you want to go to India? And long story short, we got the permissions because I was a surrendered brahmachari in the temple. And in February, I got in the plane, came to Juhu, and next day Prabhupada came. Hadn't seen him before. Mm-hmm. So I was 10 days in Bombay, a week in Mayapur, a week in Vrindavan, another 10 days in Bombay, then I went to Hyderabad. So Prabhupada came to all these places, and then we went to Tirupati. Prabhupada flew, we went by road. And then Prabhupada went away, and I stayed in Hyderabad for 5 years, till 79 February. 74 April to 79 February. Then I came to Gujarat, and I was in Ahmedabad in 79. I was in Baroda in 80 for 2 months. Then Surat for a year and a half. Then I, in 81 December, started this traveling book distribution. That went on for almost a year. And 83 January came back to Surat. And I was there till 84 September. Jasomati Nandan Prabhu asked me to take over the Baroda project. That construction, the land was procured from the government in 81. It was a government land. The chief minister sanctioned that land. And the construction on a massive basement began in 84 January. And it was overconfidence in the fundraising abilities to make such a huge design and project. And we got stuck in the basement. We moved in 87 Janmashtami into the basement. Nobody knew we were there because it was a basement. There was nothing above it. And finally, we started construction on top of the basement. We changed the design, and we finished that. That started in 91, and we finished in 99. So this year is our silver jubilee of ISKCON Baroda. Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar. ISKCON Ahmedabad and ISKCON Baroda, the deity rooms in both are totally, there's no reinforced concrete. So they'll last for 1,000 years. It's bricks, cement, and stones. And the domes are all stones. Some cement and stones. But that'll go for 1,000 years.
Wow.
We both Ahmedabad and Baroda, we use the traditional Sompura style of architecture. It's famous. Most of the temples in North India are Sompura type of temples. The Sompuras are a caste of Brahmins from Saurashtra who design temples, temple architecture. But most of their temples are Jain temples these days.
Oh, right.
The big Swaminarayan temples are also Sompura. The BAPS, they have the big temples here. BAPS is a splinter group, by the way, like the Bangalore group that we were talking about before this podcast began. But that's another topic.
Sure.
So yeah, I've been in Gujarat now since 79 April. 79 March, April.
Raised 4 sons there?
A daughter and 4 sons, 5
Daughter and 4
kids.
sons,
They
5
all
kids.
grew up in India. They're all over here
Wow.
these days. One in Canada
Sure.
and the rest in the U.S.
Amazing.
So I am an Indian citizen. I renounced U.S. citizenship in 1982 because the Constitution of India does not allow dual nationality. In 1999, they introduced virtual dual nationality, but I had renounced. I didn't care so much. But then later on, the children, urban Indian youth want to come here. By and large, they don't all obviously come.
Yeah.
But I got a U.S. green card late, and since I got that, I've been doing up and down.
There were a bunch of devotees during that time that wanted to get Indian citizenship. I remember Indra Prabhu was one of those, but he never did, I don't think.
I think he passed away during the process.
Okay.
Jayapataka Maharaj was first, I was second.
Oh.
Dinabandhu Prabhu kept coming in and out. He's been in Vrindavan for 35 years.
Yeah.
But he didn't feel the need. Now, Bhaktarupa Prabhu got Indian citizenship.
Oh, interesting.
The late Aditya Mataji, who was Giriraj Swami's secretary back in those days, she lived in Vrindavan. She got a citizenship, and but she's no more. And there, Preeti Vardhan Maharaj, who was the dean of the Mayapur Bhaktivedanta Academy, the Gurukul.
Yes.
Now it's become a day school, but they have a new scheme where over 18 years, boys will live in the ashram because of child protection issues.
Yes.
And the, Anirdesha Vapu Das scandal.
Yes.
So they made it into a day school.
Yeah. This is your second actually appearance on the show. The first was with
Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. The first was with Garuda Prabhu talking about the female Diksha Guru topic. And then that's amazing you joined in when you were 17. Same with my father-in-law, Kripamoya Prabhu.
Oh yeah.
He also was 17. And now you're almost 70. You're 69.
69. I'm born in 55 April.
Oh, okay.
Chaitra Shukla Chaturdashi is the Janma Tithi.
Oh.
That was calculated.
Right.
Would have been Purnima, but a day short.
So I was asking about, do you remember getting any feedback from that podcast that you did?
Boy.
I actually never spoke to you afterward to get your thoughts about what you...
No, it was a great show. Those who were pro-liberal took the side of Garuda.
Yeah.
And I had presented, the quotes that he couldn't refute. There are no women gurus in history. Suniti was a guru, but these are informal. The formal gurus are all men. Dronacharya and Sandipani from the Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata. Because women were not studying the Vedas. That's why I'm banned from lecturing by the, ISKCON authorities over here. You know about that.
You mentioned something to me, but give me a little bit more context.
I quoted in a class, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:425, Stri, women, Shudra, labor class, Dvija Bandhu Nam. Dvija Bandhu, relatives of those Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas who did not study Vedas. Trayina Shruti Gochara. These three cannot study Vedas. It's in the Bhagavata. So one lady sitting there said, well, this is making me feel bad. And I tried to assuage her feelings. I wasn't offensive at all. But for speaking what Prabhupada taught, I'm banned. It was purely political. Had nothing to do with what I said that day. They actually denied that there was a recording. There was an audio recording somebody made, not a video. Bhagavatam says that women, we are also Malechas and Yavanas. We can't study the Vedas. You didn't study the Vedas. But there are Brahmanas now. There are no more Kshatriyas and Vaishyas who study the Vedas generally. Actually, in Bangalore, I had been to a Vaishya Veda Patshala, where they teach Vedas to Vaishyas. So, but by and large in India, only Brahmins study the Vedas means to memorize at least one Veda. And that memorization, that's what the Guru, it's mentioned in 10, 45, 33, 34, and 35. What Krishna and Balaram studied in Sandipani's ashram in Avanti, Ujjain. Yeah. Vedas, Vedangas, the 6 limbs of the Vedas, the Upanishads, Vedanta. Upanishads are Vedanta. The Anvikshikim, system of logic, and the 64 arts, and Dhanurveda, military science. So Krishna and Balaram were Kshatriyas. The story, right after killing Kamsa, they got Yagnopavit Sanskar.
Yeah.
So that's the sign of a twice-born. Women don't get that. So if you say that, you're a misogynist, you're banned. See, my objection is, you want to change traditional Vedic and Vaishnav culture. Bhakti Siddhanta and Prabhupada wanted to reestablish Varnashram, so they gave Brahmin status to Malechas and Yavanas and others, but they didn't give it to the women. So this is a gender equality thing. There's a gender equality movement. It's very strong. It's not just the Democrats, it's the Republicans, not like abortion. Republicans are embracing it because they won't get votes if they're against abortion.
Yeah.
So the political reality of the U.S. shouldn't dictate our ideology. Prabhupada was you can call it a patriarchal figure. He didn't appoint women as temple presidents, GBCs. One of the ardent, pro-gender equality devotees said, well, there was one appointment. Yeah, the president ran away in 1967 or 68 from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Prabhupada wrote to the wife, you be the president. I mean, that's not Prabhupada appointing women as presidents. He didn't.
When you said in the beginning that women were not gurus in history, people quote Janava, Mata, and others. Right. I'm not sure of the history personally, but were they giving initiation formally?
See, what is initiation? First and second initiation in ISKCON. And in Gaudiya Mat, they call the second initiation Diksha.
Diksha, right.
Right. So the Diksha is the Yagnopavit. Now, did Prabhupada give second initiation to women? Yes. What's the explanation for that? He didn't give the thread. The Arya Samaj gives women the thread not to wear constantly while performing a sacrifice.
Oh, then they won't.
But we're not followers of the Arya Samaj. Prabhupada didn't speak very nicely about the Arya Samaj because they're against deity worship. And 99% of the Hindus worship deities. But deities are not in the Vedas, they're in the Agamas, right? So there's the Agamas, the Nigamas. Nigama is Vedas, Agama is supplementary. They're Yamunacharya. Ramanuja's Param Guru. Prabhupada said his guru, but he was the guru of his guru, according to the Ramanuja Sampradaya. He wrote a book, Agama Pramanyam, the evidence in supporting the bona fides of the Agamas. So, who are we following? We're not following the Ramanuja Sampradaya, but there's no difference in ideology. Vishnu Bhakti, right?
Yeah.
In the Vishnu Purana, they revere the Vishnu Purana. In the Prameya Ratnavali of Baladev Vidyabhushan, 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas are mentioned, right? Ramanuja, Madhva, Brahma, Shri, Rudra, and the Kumaras. Right? So that's the... Kumaras is the Nimbark Sampradaya.
Yeah.
Then there's the Rudra is Vallabh. There's no other Rudra Sampradaya seen. Although Prabhupada didn't have kind words for the Vallabh Sampradaya. Publicly, he did. Privately, Vallabhacharya apparently had taken sannyas and then become a householder. So that wasn't Bhakti Siddhanta and Prabhupada and the Gaudiya Math. It wasn't... Prabhupada married one of his sannyasis, or he sat there in the marriage, Bali Mardan. It's on video.
Yes.
But behind the scenes... It's not behind the scenes. A sannyasi who marries is called a Vantasi. You've heard that.
Yes.
Someone who eats his own vomit. I mean, it's highly condemnable. And yet householder life is condemnable. Right? Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukhami tucham.
Yeah.
Tucha means very... But the whole world is householder. Varnashram dharma, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. It's for men, not for women. The women don't have the sanskaras, only vivaha. So they say that's misogyny. You hate women, but that's nonsense. We don't hate women, are supposed to be protected. This is Prabhupada again and again and again.
Oh, so I was asking about the Janava Mata giving.
Right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So if you say that only Harinam is Diksha, or Harinam is initiation, she might have been giving Harinam. It's not that clear. She was revered as the leader of the Vaishnavas. Now, Prabhupada also wrote letters that after Bhakti Siddhanta disappeared, there was a struggle for someone to become the Acharya. Or rather, there's this letter to Rupanuga written at Tirupati. I was there. I was a bachcha. Right? I was 19 years old. In 74 April. And Prabhupada wrote that letter that Sridhar Maharaj and 2 others who are now dead were the cause of the breakup of the Gaudiya Math. And the reason was that they had chosen this Ananta Vasudev. Well, there's still people who will threaten us with, mostly verbally, that you people don't realize that the most dear disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta was Ananta Vasudev. But he took sannyas and then he ran away with some lady and settled in Vrindavan and spent the rest of his life there. And he left, what he left is called the Gaudiya Mission, the Bagbazar Gaudiya Math.
Yes.
And Prabhupada's sannyas guru, Keshav Maharaj's elder brother, was Odalami Maharaj. And he passed away in 82, but he was in charge from that time of that. But he took off the saffron and put on white and became a Babaji.
And I think Keshav Maharaj said,
met him on Navadvip Parikrama and said, where is the saffron cloth that Guru Maharaj gave you. He was critical.
Yeah.
Then later on, they've come back. That mission has come back to like kind of regularization.
Yeah, they during the Bhaktisiddhanta festival that was here in New York, their acharya came. I forget his name, but he had come, acharya from the
Right,
Bazar Mat.
right.
He's a sannyasi. He's like an acharya.
See, there's a 4:28:31 in the purport, Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 28th chapter, 31st. Prabhupada says that my godbrothers and I are not working conjointly, but we're all making thousands of disciples to spreading the mission of Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta and Mahaprabhu. So there are many letters where Prabhupada talked about, like this letter that I just referred to Rupanuga. But the purports take precedence over the letters and the conversations.
Yes.
Those were his instructions. And now if his godbrothers, who were supposedly envious, could make many thousands of disciples, how is it that Prabhupada could be the only guru? This is the Ritvikist argument, that Prabhupada is now the only guru.
Yeah.
One of those Ritviks, then he said, well, Prabhupada said for ISKCON, so I'm leaving ISKCON, and he became a guru. I won't mention his name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Prabhupada wanted a unified preaching movement, and somehow ISKCON has been together, but, you know, this gender equality contamination has entered, and it's very strong among devotees who share my skin color, which is not brown. But I've lived in India for 50 years. I've seen Vedic culture. Samskritena sambhashanam api karomi. Samskrita bhasha bhavati. Sanskrit is a language. It's not... Grammar didn't create the language. Grammar described the language. So Prabhupada, in many places, I wanted to revive Vedic culture. The word Vedic, you can search. Innumerable references. Disciplic succession. I think there's 1600 times he used this. Succession means somebody succeeds somebody. You see, in Punjab, many Sikhs. Sikh means Shishya, by the way. It's a mispronunciation of Sanskrit. Shishya, disciple. They say Guru Shishya, the disciple of the Guru. Somebody made Guru Govind Singh the last Guru. You know, Guru Govind Singh wrote the words Hindu Dharma. It's not separate. The word Hindu is also, Prabhupada said 100 times we're not Hindus. But in the books, he wrote the word Hindu. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, innumerable times. Innumerable means there must be a number there.
Yeah.
And in the famous purport, Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha na jana vidurasuraha, 16:7 in Gita. The asuras don't know what to do and what not to do. Nasocham, they are not clean. Nasocham na pichacharo, they don't know how to behave. Nasatyam teshu vidyate, and in them you don't find truth. So there he writes about, in the purport, the puffed up concept of womanly life. And he condemns the modern concept of, you know, gender equality. And there's the conversation with Yogeshwar. He lives somewhere near here.
Yeah, he lives in New York.
Haven't seen him since 1990 Rath Yatra.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not close. I didn't know him. I met him. We talked for a few minutes. I attended New York Rath Yatra 1990. Long story.
Wow.
So Prabhupada is talking with him in Rome, and he says, Prabhupada, the women want equality with men. And Prabhupada said that's artificial. We should work in our constitutional position. So that Prabhupada was a gender distinction advocate, not a gender equality advocate. There are some egalitarian type of statements he made. But if you see what his instructions in the purports and in conversations.
Do you see for preaching, though, when there is this kind of focus on gender equality, to be able to cater to that kind of mindset for the sake of spreading Krishna consciousness? What would you say? I'm just giving you kind of like a devil's advocate here. What would you say for that? Because then I can understand why they would, that lady didn't want to hear that or felt bad by that, because if that mindset is kind of prevalent, then don't we have to kind of be more in our presentation, be a little bit more sensitive in the way we talk? And then because the end justifies the means, the means being that we speak a certain way, the end is to make everyone Krishna conscious. What would you say about that?
Well, yeah, what's the aim of the mission? To revive in India Vedic culture and to spread Vedic Indian culture around the world. One of our leaders is against Indian culture. He says it's mundane. He says German culture and Brazilian culture and Indian culture are all the same. No need to wear neck beads and tilak. No need to have a shaved head or wear dhotis. It's Indian, it's mundane. But that's not what Prabhupada taught.
Right.
So they're contradicting what Prabhupada taught, and the North American leadership is silent. In fact, the international leadership is silent. It's a sad state of affairs. Why did you see the pictures of Prabhupada from 1970 in Los Angeles? Everyone's in a dhoti and a sari. Why? Prabhupada told them to wear dhotis and saris.
Yeah.
Did he have a sword in his hand? Did he have a high-powered rifle? If you don't put on a dhoti and a sari, I'm going to shoot you. He convinced them, ideologically, philosophically, that Indian culture was transcendental. It came from Vaikuntha, from the spiritual world. And the aim of human life is to go back to the spiritual world. And you can have that Vaikuntha in this lifetime by adopting Vedic culture. Now it's the reality, the sad reality is the Indians are giving up Vedic culture. At the same time, the government in India is Hindu. They're called the Hindu nationalists over here. And they are setting the example of, like, the Ram temple that opened recently.
Yeah.
It was a national function. People Prabhupada told us on the morning walk, I can't remember the exact date, but it was on Juhu Beach. He said, more or less everyone in India is Krishna conscious, but they're being artificially checked by the government. Well, the government at that time was secular.
Yeah.
They didn't want to promote Hindu religion. And Prabhupada propagated Hindu religion. You can deny it as much as you want. The definition of Hinduism in the dictionary is the Vedic religion of South Asia. That's what we are. That's what we follow. Now, I'm not brown, so I'm not a Hindu in that sense. I wasn't born in a Hindu family. I was born in a non-vegetarian, cow killer family. Well, we didn't go out and kill the cows, but we ate cow's meat. Mm-hmm. So that's considered untouchable, lower than untouchable in Vedic culture. But the mission of Bhaktisiddhanta, he sent preachers abroad and they didn't succeed. They did establish some small center in England.
Yes.
And Germany. There were a few disciples. But Prabhupada's mission is all over the world and it's succeeded. It's not a mass movement. We have to be also frank with ourselves. It's not a mass movement. Well, we had 20,000 devotees in Ukraine who are highly disturbed right now because the country's at war with a far larger and more powerful enemy.
Yeah.
19,000 is not a mass of people, but it's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah.
Remember, 19,000 in Western Europe, ISKCON never had that. There's 80 centers in Russia. There's 25 in Ukraine. Well, now God knows, but there were 25 in Ukraine. what can I say? You know, ISKCON in India, we're having between 400 and 600 every day. Now I'm the general secretary of the legal body, which is the functional governing body for ISKCON. The Western devotees don't know how to function in India. I've been there 50 years. And you know, we're just a few Western bodies left now on the governing bureau. Bhima Prabhu resigned. Radhanath Maharaj resigned. In the past, we had Kadamba Kanada Maharaj. He had resigned, but he passed away now. Sridhar Swami passed away. It's 20 years ago. So, but most of our Indian devotees. We have, Radhe Shyam Prabhu spends 3 months of the year here.
Yeah.
He's, you have a youth minister for the whole movement who's doing a good job of taking 40 people on a summer bus tour.
Yeah.
And Radhe Shyam is a recruitment wizard. He had 500 brahmacharis in the ashram. They are preaching all over India. Shouldn't he be the youth minister? There's some kind of a bias, whatever you want to call it. And it's also true that the senior devotees are from the US and Europe, where ISKCON was stronger in those days. When Prabhupada disappeared, there were 8 centers in India. So it's just a massive boom in India. And Prabhupada actually said, right, I'm just one Indian. If all the Indian, he wanted this Vedic culture to be spread everywhere. And the onus was on Indians. And they should be encouraged to be in the leadership here. And they know what the old culture is. But Westerners, we were raised in, of course, my family was also liberal, What can I say? But this gender equality idea in the purport of 16.7, Prabhupada thoroughly condemned it, and that's as true today as it was in those days.
What would you say is the effect of if you have, let's say, female Diksha gurus or female leadership? What's the harm in that? Like, what would be the result? Would it be such a catastrophic thing?
The free mixing of the sexes. Well, you can't stop it over here.
Right.
But we see in India, a woman could not remarry. It's happening now, particularly if she had a child.
Right.
Prabhupada actually wrote, but I can't remember, that a woman could remarry if she never saw her husband, because they were married as children. You know about that. Vedic culture allows so then, Prabhupada described, you would never think that you didn't have a spouse. Today I was talking with my son on the way here about his cousins, my sister's sons. They're his age and they're not married. And, it's a social phenomena that Indian girls are not finding husbands till they're 30 years old.
Yeah.
And the Indian culture was Kanya Avastha. The Kanya, the word Kanya means a girl who has not reached puberty. And they were supposed to be married at that time, before puberty. Prabhupada was married when his wife was 11. So it was doubtful that she had attained puberty. Now, they didn't live with the husband until puberty so they could have a child.
Right.
That's the Vedic culture. And if you want to deny that and, try and change it, society has changed it, but it's artificial. People are not happy. And all these divorces that are going on, Prabhupada condemned it. No divorce. It's happening. It's wrong. And then they remarry another woman who had a child. And it's like drinking this glass of water over here. It's the influence, not only modern liberalism, but Protestant Christianity was created so that divorce could be facilitated, right?
Right.
Came out of Catholicism, doesn't allow divorce.
But more specifically, I mean, towards ISKCON, like
So
what
we
would
have-
be the result?
Well,
if,
the result is that women are mixing freely with the men. Now, in the workplace, you can't stop it because the workplace is outside of ISKCON. But these were ideals that in India, he mentioned this. In Gujarat, there were villages. You couldn't go beyond a certain place because that's where the women resided. Prabhupada called it parda. Parda is actually a curtain.
Curtain, yeah.
It's an Urdu word. It's not a Sanskrit word.
Right. Really?
There's another Sanskrit. A lot of Arabic and Persian words came into Hindi.
Yes. Even Gujarati also.
Yeah.
Tons.
Right. So there is a Sanskrit word escaping me at the moment. But the women and the men didn't mix. In the family, with family members. But in society, men conducted whatever businesses, whether it was agriculture. The women assisted the men.
I could see that happening in India, but in America, Prabhu, that's like to think that Vedic culture we could move to here in 2024. I just don't think it's.
There's a gap between the ideal and the reality, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
But now, what do you want to encourage? Do you want to encourage the ideals, or do you want to encourage what's actually wrong with this society? It's tough. I mean, what Prabhupada wanted for New Vrindavan doesn't exist, right? I mean, objectively.
Right.
The movie that Kirtanananda made, it was actually made by Yadubara in 1974.
Well, what was
that
called?
The Spiritual Frontier. It's on YouTube.
Oh, I love that. Love that video.
It's a 40-minute tiny... I showed that to Prabhupada. He had seen it once before in Juhu. It's a long story, but I had collected money in Dubai for Hyderabad in 1976. And we collected a lot of money. And we ordered a briefcase projector. And the 2 movies from Los Angeles was sent by air freight. And the customs wanted to see the movie. And I had to show them. And they said, this is not Islam. And I said, we're going to India in 4 days. Oh, okay. Wow. And it's don't show it to anybody. So we reached Bombay. Prabhupada had been in Tehran when I was in Dubai. He came and we flew with him to Hyderabad for the temple opening, which was Janmashtami 76. But 3 extremely rich business class people, 2 ladies, and KJ Somaya, Gujarati. And the ladies were Ashok Birla's mother.
Oh.
And this Bridge Ratan Mota's wife, as I recall. So I said, Prabhupada, should I show them these movies? I brought this. And he said, yes. And we showed that Spiritual Frontier, as I recall. There was Hare Krishna people also, but that was older.
Hare Krishna people,
So this was new, and we showed it to them for 40 minutes. They watched the tiny briefcase projector. It was an 8mm cartridge, 8mm movie film.
My gosh.
You would put in and it would show on a tiny screen. Whereas today it would be a 12-inch or 14-inch. It was square.
Yeah.
Fairchild. It was a new thing. So yeah, that, depend on nature's beauty and the cows and a rural agrarian community. Well, some devotees are doing it in India. You might have heard about this. The Nandagram, it's near Baroda, and then there's this Kurmagram near Sri Kurma Kshetra in Andhra Pradesh.
Oh, really?
So these are disciples of Bhakti Vikas Swami, independent householders. They have their own, they don't use electricity.
Really?
And they do organic farming, and, they have their limitations. Because, land is very, very costly.
Yeah.
And land hit the ceiling. In the 70s, land was a throwaway and you had no money. And now when you have a little money, the prices are in the sky. So to get agricultural land in India is not cheap.
I mean, I would argue that the result should always be that we want to make people Krishna conscious no matter what, right?
See, what is Krishna consciousness? Is it just the kirtan? Some people can argue yes. Kirtaniya sada harihi.
Right.
You should always do kirtan, but we don't. The Varnashram concepts, Prabhupada spoke at length. Then he was asked in Vrindavan by Satsvarup, should the girls go to the Varnashram college? And he said no. They should learn to, do household work. So, he was not for this gender equality. But it's very clear. Then there's a conversation in Mayapur in 77 where, they argued, Hari Shori and I guess it was Satsvarup again.
Yeah.
That Prabhupada, we want to make everyone Vaishnavs. So he said, well, it's not so easy. He said, therefore, Varnashram is required. And the whole talk on Varnashram. So, and that's what he said to Yogeshwar, that everyone should work in their constitutional position. He said, the women, they don't say, I want to go with Prabhupada to preach in Japan. This was what Prabhupada was telling him. What do ladies do? Looking after children, parenting, grandparenting. The house is the kingdom for the woman. Prabhupada said Kunti and Draupadi knew the political game, but they didn't involve.
Yeah.
They were involved in the household affairs. So it's up to the men to bring what they need, and then they ran the house. It's the maternal instincts. And Matri Devo Bhava, the mother is worshipped as a devata. Father worshipped as a devata. Acharya, you know this. Matri Devo Bhava.
Yeah.
It's in the Upanishads. Pitri Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. So what was Atiti? Anybody came and asked for food, you would give him. Now this hotel business is anti-Vedic. When I came to India, hotels were only for people who were traveling. People didn't go out and eat. If you were on the road, you went to a hotel.
Yeah.
Maybe they were, but it now you got to eat out type of mentality, at least in the urban areas. Otherwise, Vedic culture, eating out, it's apavitra, impure. Okay, we run Govinda's restaurants. You may say, we're running in Baroda, so maybe I'm a hypocrite.
Oh, you have one there.
Oh, quite successful.
Oh, nice.
One devotee, your godbrother, who's an MBA, his wife and him, they run the restaurant.
Wow.
And because they tripled the income using social media to broadcast, to advertise, and
Sure.
delivery. Home delivery is 30% of the business.
Wow.
It's the only restaurant in Baroda where there's probably maybe one or two where they don't have onions and garlic, mostly onions. They don't cook. Some restaurants give it on the side.
Yeah.
We don't give it on the side, but the business is going on.
Wow.
Well, it's a good business. I mean, it's not, could be even better.
Yeah.
Sure.
In regards to this Varnashram idea that you're talking about, which was you're saying Srila Prabhupada's, he spoke about it many times. I guess there's room for different ways of looking at, like you were mentioning the sannyasi who says that Indian culture is not needed. That's one side.
I didn't say sannyasi. I said a leader.
A leader, okay. Well, we know who you're talking about, though.
You know who I'm talking about.
Anyways.
9, 10, 50 in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Canto 9, chapter 10, text number 50.
Right.
Varnashram is a must in the purport. So, you see, what have they done with this? You don't need a dhoti, you don't need a tilak.
Yes. Krishna West. I'm saying it.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it.
What is the result of that? They're filling up the temples in North America are empty. Even the people who say that we've adopted this, what do they call it? They have this lounge preaching.
Right.
To try and preach to non-Hindus.
Right.
It's not very successful. Let's be objective.
I think it is successful.
Really?
The lounge, I think it is, at least in new places like New Zealand, I think they've become very successful.
See,
I mean, I think it's more successful
What-
than trying to say that
What
like
hap-
you have to fit into this kind of Indian box.
well, that's what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted cultural conquest. It's on the record.
Right.
I'm not making this up. You see how the pictures from the Prabhupada days?
Yes.
He never, there was a controversy that when they put on Western dress to distribute books, he didn't want that, but he said, well, if you can distribute more books, okay.
I guess that's the point I'm making.
No,
The
but
end justifies the means.
what is the end then? You want to create a Vedic society. You want to even get rid of English, ultimately. What? These are all Malecha bhashas.
That's
Samskritam means culture. You know that, right? Samskritam, Susamskrita, very cultured.
yeah.
Sanskari, you've heard this in Gujarati, they say sanskari, someone
Sanskari,
who's
yeah.
cultured.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not able to achieve all of our goals. But what is the goal? Is the goal to have people running around in, Western dress and Hare Krishna? The goal was to create a Varnashram society. That's why I talked about that movie, Spiritual Frontier.
Yeah.
Prabhupada told us to, depend on nature's beauty and the cows. But he also said to adopt Vedic dress, Vedic, food. ISKCON bullets were gulab jamuns. They weren't, M&Ms or whatever. We have our weaknesses for Western things. But if you really go, like an Italian restaurant is all meat. What is pasta, pizza and pasta, but they eat it with meat.
Yeah.
Without meat, you won't find it hardly. One, Prabhupada had a disciple named Balkrishna, an Indian from Mauritius, long gone. God knows where he is now. So he said, I was with Prabhupada in Italy and he never ate Italian food. We like Italian food, right? Pizza, everybody like. So, and Prabhupada's and his guru, they wanted to spread Vedic Varnashram Dharma. So, shooting for the rhino, yeah, converting the whole world to Krishna consciousness doesn't look like that's going to happen in our lifetime. But that was the aim. So, like I said, if you had 19,000, that's a really big figure. But what's the population of Ukraine? 70 million, 60 million, 80 million? I can't remember now. So, you can, most of the people there drink vodka and eat, non-vegetarian food. So, what is the result of that? The mode of ignorance, tamogun.
Yeah. I think the goal would be to have people become attracted to Krishna, to chant the holy name, to adopt like the kind of lowest denominator of Vedic culture is a start for most people, I would say, in the Western world.
Well, they used to have the Sunday love feast. But that's a time and circumstance thing, right? In India, there's some imitation of that. But when you have thousands and thousands of people coming to your temple, how many are you going to sit down and feed and then interact with them on a personal level?
Right.
We feed 750 in Baroda at the gate in the morning and then distribute khichdi to everybody in a small...
Katori.
Used to be a leaf cup, right?
Yeah.
It's become so expensive now. It's paper cup.
Mm-hmm.
But people coming to the temple, attracting people to. We have really nice kirtans there.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning. Now the whole system. Prabhupada had, Mauritius will be the first Krishna conscious country. He said things like that. So the sky was the limit. But what are you propagating then? Hare Krishna. It's not that we're rigid by saying this. We're just repeating, what Prabhupada's vision is.
I think Prabhupada's vision was also dynamic. It wasn't rigid in the sense that, I mean, he was open to people giving him different facts and saying, Prabhupada, this is working better this way than this way. And he would be like, okay, then do it that way. Obviously, he's not here to tell us that anymore, but I think we can use our own intelligence to think like what's working and what's not working.
A great acharya can make adjustments.
Right.
But you can't change the basic philosophy. I mean, Prabhupada didn't do that.
Yes.
But making an adjustment, okay, the women can go out and distribute books because the men and women are freely mixing.
Yeah.
But, women going out and meeting strange men is not good for women. They have an affair with this one, then with that one, and the other one. And the men want to enjoy many women. One devotee was a disciple of a god brother who, this is, years and years ago, counted how many women he had sexual connections with. A large number, let's put it like that. But according to Prabhupada, that's animal life.
Yeah.
Right? So no illicit sex, what does it mean? Now, if a woman was married, had children, and then remarried, and they're Prabhupada disciples, and it's not one. I can't count. There's too many to count. It's not the Vedic culture. But then when they were hippies, they were doing that, right? But Prabhupada told them to stop their hippie life. But to give up that hippie seed, he mentioned that, right? Long hair. Prabhupada talked about all of these things.
Yeah.
Homosexuality. There's somebody, Lalitananda, who he was, I don't know. He died of AIDS. Prabhupada wrote this letter, give up homosex. It will not help you in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada could have said, have homosex with one partner, because that's what
he
the
told
person you mentioned.
Yeah, he told
sannyasi.
that to...
but he didn't.
No, the one in Australia that he was his secretary, I think was.
No, he condemned homosexuality again and again and again. In Australia, in a number of conversations, just see the priestly caste of the Christian priests are condoning homosexuality. Many gay devotees became Prabhupada's disciples.
Yeah.
So he wasn't against the so-called gay people, but he was against homosexuality. He had them marry women, homosexual men.
Really?
Yeah, they were. I shouldn't mention the name.
No, don't mention it. Don't mention.
But
the
in the
names.
beginning, those at 26 Second Avenue.
Oh yes, yeah.
At least, except for one who became a sannyasi.
Yeah.
And who later on apparently molested some children.
Yes.
Apparently.
Right.
He went to jail for something else, not for molesting children, before he passed away 10, 12 years ago, whenever that was.
Right.
Otherwise, the other ones, he knew that they were gay, but he had them marry women, and they had children. So, if you now reverse what Prabhupada taught, condemning homosexuality, you're not following Prabhupada. You're not following. You've made a compromise. Now, if you're a great acharya, like Prabhupada was, you can make an adjustment. In homosexuality, he didn't. He thoroughly, there's that purport in the Bhagavatam that it is for no sane man, right? It's insanity. He wrote like this in his purport. That's
But I like the point.
3:20:26.
But I like the point you made. He wasn't against the people who were of that.
homosexual.
Yeah.
See, he knew that the Westerners. My granddaughter is living in Texas, and she said, I'm the only virgin in the class, in the high school. She graduated high school.
You have a granddaughter who's in high school?
18 years. She's 18, graduated. I went to
Wow.
the graduation ceremony. Illicit sex in America, because they don't have child marriage. So, and everybody's promiscuous, and the liberal, even those are all Republican areas. It's outside of Dallas,
Right.
in a town. This country, free mixing of girls and boys means sex.
Yeah.
So we're not against sex, but sex is between husband and wife for having children. That's the ideal. But at least you shouldn't, Prabhupada said sex is bad, but illicit sex outside of marriage is, now there's going to be a controversy. Well, husband and wife shouldn't have. That's the highest ideal. It's difficult to follow that. Everybody knows that. It's an open secret.
Yeah.
But the moment you divorce your wife and you go out into another man's wife, they were divorced and she had a child. So in Protestant Christianity, that's fine. But it's not really fine in Vedic culture. But my friends, really good friends, whose names I won't mention, but that's the reality of life here.
Yeah.
That they've married women even more than once that had children from a previous marriage. So, when will it become ideal? Well, hopefully in the future. Hopefully in the future. We had very bad sanskaras, impressions in the childhood. What should I say? When I was 10 years old, my uncle got my grandfather a subscription to Playboy magazine. I was 10 years old, 1965, and I had an access to Playboy magazine. So, the editor-in-chief of Playboy, his son became a godbrother. We were initiated together.
Really?
And he was organizing Prabhupada's interview. There were very famous interviews. The monthly interview in Playboy was very famous. And Sheldon Wax, he died in 1975 in O'Hare Airport. A DC-10 went up and exploded and everyone was killed. And this devotee's parents both died. And he was organizing Prabhupada's interview. That would have been, quite popular. And when Prabhupada found out it was a magazine that displayed, naked women in the magazine, he refused. He said no. So,
wow. Is that devotee still around?
Well, he may or may not still be alive. He's my age, or a year older.
He kind of was estranged to...
He was with me in Hyderabad, and then I guess he got some insurance money from his parents' deaths. And since the early 1980s, we don't know where he is.
Wow, very interesting.
So...
his parents were the editors of Playboy?
His father.
His father
Sheldon Wax.
Sheldon Wax.
You can Google it, right? Wikipedia.
Sure,
it
sure.
should be there.
Very interesting. His son became a devotee.
Yeah. And he came to Hyderabad. We were together in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
But this was in the 70s. Remember, I was there from 74 till 79.
Yeah.
And, it was interesting. A devotee who I think he passed away a long time ago, he and another devotee who really got me to move into the ashram in Evanston Temple. They were making a newspaper, Easy Journey to Other Planets, was a newspaper. And when they sent it to Prabhupada, he said, there's no need for this. You should contribute back to Godhead. But in Hyderabad, Mahamsa Swami was the president's Mahanksha, but we said Mahamsa,
right.
Still today. But he made a newspaper that this devotee helped put together Hare Krishna Explosion.
Right.
And they sent it to Prabhupada. He praised it to the high heavens and approved of it. So time and circumstance things,
Yeah.
But Prabhupada giving an interview in Playboy would have made him more famous than he was.
Yeah.
Because it was quite popular in those days, but he refused.
Someone had to break it to him that this was the...
Well, someone told him, that it's...
This is what the content... It's the content,
Naked Women Picture Magazine.
Yeah. What would... So if the idea is to spread Vedic culture, and it's not happening in the West, as some devotees say that it's not happening.
It's happening to a certain extent. Like you said, You get them to chant and take prasadam.
Yeah.
And, take initiation.
Right.
And you hope that it will come to Indian couple. There are a lot of Indians here now who sympathize with ISKCON. You were born and raised here.
Yes.
So, in India, Prabhupada said this: the ideal system of life is the Indian village system. I heard him say this. And we're living in urban India. We're not living in the free mixing of men and women. I shouldn't say, the Garba dancing for Navratri. So the backside joke was that Garba and Garbapat, which is abortion. Abortion in India is not here. It's a big issue there. It's wide open, right? Because the previous atheistic government wanted to control the population.
Right.
There's a lot of historical things that you could call it Kali Yuga, where Vedic civilization was spread all over the world 5,000 years ago, the Mahabharata. But now, India was cut off. Pakistan and Bangladesh. I went to Bangladesh earlier this year for the first time after 50 years in India. I went to Bangladesh for 9 days, and it was great. And ISKCON is boom. There's like 370 centers, large and small, in Bangladesh.
Amazing.
20% of the population is Hindu. Obviously, the Muslims are not interested. Prabhupada didn't want to talk about, much about Muslims and Islam. The problem is not the Muslims. They're peace-loving people. But parts of the religion teach violence. And that violence has affected India as a country. And the Hamas is an Islamist organization. The same people that are killing Hindus in Kashmir. There are a number of these Islamist groups in Pakistan. And their belief is non-Muslims should be killed. Well, they also believe that the Shias are not Muslims, or the Ahmadis. You've heard of them. In Pakistan, there's killing of Shias by Sunnis.
Yeah.
But not everyone. Fanatics. So this is a world problem, fanaticism. And Indonesia was all Hindu. The Balinese are still Hindus. And the language is 66% Sanskrit words in Indonesian.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's a fact. Indochina. Oh, we went to Angkor Wat. I went in January 14. Seems like yesterday.
Wow.
10.5 years. Those were Hindu temples. Later on became Buddhist. Buddhism came out of Hinduism. The concepts are similar, but the ultimate goal is, of Buddhism is to annihilate one's existence.
Yeah.
Atheism.
Yeah.
Shunyavad. And that's not the ultimate goal of Hinduism or Vaishnavism.
So are you forbidden from speaking at any temple in North America?
Officially.
Really?
There are temples that don't observe that. I won't mention their names.
Right. How did that make you feel when...
Well, I'm protesting it. The ISKCON India leadership has protested it.
Right.
And since there's a recording, you can hear the recording. Anybody can hear that recording. I wasn't trying to be offensive.
Right.
It's, one godbrother of Prabhupada who passed away in 1994, a few years ago. I mentioned the name of another godbrother and I asked him, what about so-and-so Maharaj? And he said, so-and-so Maharaj, politics. So, we're supposed to be spiritual, but because we're not fully, that's the problem that gave birth to Ritvikism, was gurus falling down.
Yeah, it was like a trauma response.
Right. But it's a concoction because they're evam parampara praptam, disciplic succession. Somebody succeeds. Prabhupada didn't want one acharya for ISKCON. He didn't pick a successor. But that didn't mean there shouldn't be Diksha Gurus.
Yeah.
But the Diksha Gurus, he described in Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, the 5th shloka. In his purport, he writes that Kanishta and Madhyama may accept disciples, but they will not advance far due to their insufficient, ability or knowledge. What was it? So, what Ritviks are saying that, Guru has to be an Uttamadhikari. Well, Prabhupada didn't write that.
Yeah.
And he said all of his godbrothers are making disciples. So the system, but then he wanted Varnashram system. So that's why women are not gurus. And there's this lecture from Los Angeles, September 22nd, 1972. A women cannot take initiation. Brahminical symbolic representation. This is the theory. Now, the second definition of theory is a principle, not speculative, Darwin's theory, right? And Prabhupada learned the old British English. So women were not Brahmin. There's another Hari Shori's diary in Rome in 76. I have the quote, it's not with me, but where he said, women are considered Shudras. He said, Brahmins in North India won't eat the food that cooked by their wife because they're considered Shudras. The wife would leave the materials, they would cook and eat. That's a bit fanatical because most women cook, in the house and they have the Griha Devatas. You've heard that expression, no?
No.
The home deities.
Home deities, right.
Griha Devatas. I remember we were on a, Nagar Sankirtan in 1974 in Andhra Pradesh, in a town that wasn't even a district headquarters, but a big town. And one lady called us in the house, she had Radha Krishna deities. So, everyone in India keeps some deities in their home.
Yeah.
It could be a Shiva Linga, it could be Lakshmi Narayan, it could be Radha Krishna. And some are very small, some are bigger. They don't have massive temples in the house. Yeah. Maybe if someone's very rich. I remember in Nagpur staying with the richest man in town.
Wow. And
he would sit down and eat. We all sat on these, those wooden platforms. Yeah. And he would sit with us. And, multi-millionaire was eating on the floor. That was Indian culture. That's when I joined ISKCON, we all sat on the floor. We didn't sit and eat on tables. Now in India, in the meetings, the leaders' meetings, they have tables. Why? Why not preserve the culture that Prabhupada taught? Yeah. Oh, we're old. Yeah, if somebody's crippled and he can't sit on the floor, fine. I can sit on the floor. There's a picture of Prabhupada, Sridhar Maharaj, and all sitting on the floor in ISKCON in 1972, taking prasad together. Yeah, not one picture, several pictures.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. You can call me a fanatic, but this is what Prabhupada taught. And we were all following it.
Yeah.
And now, so Prabhupada said, in order to have more milk, you have to put water in the milk. You increase the quantity. But if you keep pouring water in milk, you lose the milk and it just becomes water.
Yeah.
And so, this is what's going on. Boiling the milk, you get the essence. So, yeah, renunciation is tough. Many couldn't cut it. Now ISKCON instituted so many standards and strictures for taking sannyas. You don't see sannyasis falling down like they used to. Prabhupada gave young men, so can you blame Prabhupada? He took a risk to spread the movement.
Yeah.
But he gave them sannyas. He didn't say, go out in Bermuda shorts without tilaks and without neck beads and start whatever. Krishna West or what is it? What's that lounge? This lounge and that lounge?
Yeah.
No. That wasn't his system. But there is another group that originated from India. You've heard of it? Ekankar?
No.
You never heard of Ekankar?
No.
Some Punjabi Sikh came to the U.S. in the 1950s, and he got some followers who became, enthusiastic to spread. There's a subsect of Sikhs called the Sant Mat. Sant is a holy person, saintly person. Mat means vichar. The thinking of the saints, right? Some Westerner adopted it, but it's in the Encyclopedia Britannica that the Ekankar removed the Indian cultural aspects.
Really?
That's what Krishna West wants to do. They want to be the Ekankar.
How do you
They
spell?
want to be like E-C-K. It came from, in Punjab, Sikhs, Ek Omkar. It's in the Guru Granth.
Ek Omkar.
Omkar is Omkar. It's from the Vedas. It's in the
Ekankar.
Gita.
Right.
Om iti ekaksharam brahma. In Gita, it says Om is the symbolic representation of the absolute.
Pranav. Om.
Yeah, pranabha.
Yeah.
So Ekankar, Punjab, there's a lot of mispronunciation of Sanskrit words. Prakash, Parkash. Krishna, Kishan.
Kishan.
Krishan.
Krishan.
You've
Yeah.
heard all this.
Yes. Yes.
Depending on the, even Bengali, Hori Romo. It sounds like Ramo.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada said, what is this Ramo? They were imitating, but Bengalis have a type of accent where you hear Ramo, they're saying, but you hear O.
Right.
Hare Krishna.
Is this kind of like more conservative view? Not that it's like maybe there is a binary, but I'm saying this kind of a more literal viewpoint, is that affecting the relationship between India ISKCON and North American ISKCON? Because obviously in North America, their goal is not necessarily to push Varnashram. It's more what I was saying of just making people chant and getting them to the temple, getting them attracted to Krishna and hearing about Krishna. But in India, it seems that what you're saying is that they're trying to push more of Varnashram Dharma. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes and no. In other words, it's 256 shades of gray. Right?
Right.
There's no this and that.
Right.
Certain ISKCON leaders never use the words Varnashram Dharma for whatever reason. Particularly over here, the spiritual frontier, he was in good standing in those days. But what he said there, which Prabhupada approved of, because I was with Prabhupada watching the movie, they give a two hoots for that. In other words, they don't care. They never talk about it. But that's a certain group of people. There are others that do. There are many, many devotees that are not leaders in North America. They're not happy with this state of affairs. There are many Indians who are running the temples, but they're not part of the highest body. There was one, he's retired. I won't mention his name. I don't think they brought on some ladies, which is, again, why do you have ladies in the top leadership when Prabhupada didn't? That doesn't mean they can't preach. They shouldn't preach. But why should you mix the men and the women?
But if they're old, then it doesn't. It's whether they mix or not is not a big deal, right? It's like when they're young when it matters, right?
There's a big article came in the was interesting part of the article at the end about this Rupert Murdoch. He's 93. He just married his fifth wife.
93?
Yeah, you look at his face. It's just. It's angam galitam phalitam mundam. You know, the Angam Galitam is like Galitam means shriveled.
Shriveled, yeah.
A mango shrivels, you know it's sweet. A mango doesn't really grow in North America. They bring them from Mexico or
Yeah, it's
wherever.
Mexico, yeah.
Central America. Angam means your limbs shrivel up when you get old. And I mean, he's really old and he's really shriveled. And the latest wife, she's 50s or 60s, and there's a glaring contrast. His youngest son owns a lot of media, major investments in the media in India.
Oh.
Not, yeah, James. But he's, anyway, why should we get into that? It never ends. The attraction between men and women. If you say it's only the youth where there's this attraction and not later on. There's plenty of old Indian men whose wives die and they want to remarry. It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The girls were making their offerings to Lord Shiva to get a good husband. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told them, give the offerings to me and you'll get a good husband. And if you don't, you'll all get an old husband with many co-wives.
Right.
It's not against Vedic culture for a man who's old to marry, but it should be a virgin. Shouldn't be someone else's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Prabhupada was in favor of polygamy, but then he said it's illegal, so you can't do it. He didn't want to encourage people to break the law. But ideologically, that was Vedic culture, and it's artificial when the Muslims in India can have 4 wives legally, and in Pakistan and in other countries, you know, if you're the king, you can have as many as you want. There are still kingdoms, right? Muslim kingdoms where the kings have any number of wives. And the civil code in India limits the Hindus to 1 wife. I went on a program in North Gujarat. It's got to be 35 odd years ago. And we had the program, Kirtan in the night, and then in the morning, the host, he said, this is my brother's house, and that's my brother's house, and that's my brother's house. How many brothers do you have? We had many mothers. That was the reply. They were Rajputs, Kshatriyas, and Kshatriyas, Krishna's, Vasudev had 9 wives. Krishna had 16,000. He didn't have the most. There's that court case in Poland. You know, that was someone who had split off from ISKCON and was preaching in Poland. And he made some girl a devotee, and her mother complained to a Christian nun. Poland's a Catholic country. She went to court against this devotee. So in the court, the Christians were saying these people are immoral. They believe in a God with 16,000 wives. So the judge said, what do you have to say to that? You've heard this story?
No.
So then the devotee said, well, ask this nun what vows she took when she became a nun. She said, I can't say it. He said, I'll tell you. She promised that only Jesus would be her husband. So how many wives did Jesus have? When all these nuns promised that only Jesus could.
Wow.
Then the judge, case dismissed.
Wow. I think I did hear that, but that's...
Right. He wasn't in ISKCON, actually, but he was a sannyasi from Prabhupada. But it was after Prabhupada's lifetime, probably in the 80s, because he passed away a long time ago, that sannyasi.
What was his name?
Tusta Krishna.
Tusta Krishna.
He was part of this, you know, Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes.
Yeah, her guru's
Siddha Swarup.
Siddha Swarup group.
Yes.
So they are independent. He's the Jagat Guru. Today, he's alive.
Yeah.
He only teaches from Prabhupada's books. So if you want to be gunagrahi, you know this word, guna is good qualities.
Yeah.
Usually means good qualities.
Yeah.
Means qualities. Grahi, to grasp the good qualities.
Yeah.
Bhava grahi Janardana. Janardana, Vishnu, sees the intentions, the bhava grahi, the mood of a devotee. So, yeah, we're not very advanced devotees.
So what is the relationship between the leadership of India and the leadership of North America as far as ISKCON?
The leadership, it goes through the GBC body. There's no direct link as such. There is and there isn't. You know, they're getting Radhe Shyam and Gauranga travel here and preach.
Yes, yes.
But certain places, it's not through ISKCON India. It's directly going on.
Because I remember there
I'm
was
not
some...
saying that it should be. You know, it is what it is.
Right. I remember hearing something because I think before His Holiness Bhakti Chur Maharaj left this world, I was with him at some wedding and I was having lunch with him and I was asking about the female Diksha Guru thing, and he was saying that the GBC couldn't agree on it at all, and that you know, and then later on I heard that there was some talk of like a separation between India and North America. What's the like, let's set the record straight here, because you're actually a member of that leadership body in India, right?
Yeah. Where ISKCON India is told, you know, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, he's gone. He can't confirm what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But quietly he told me, he said, I'm no longer in favor of this. For many years he said, I can't change my vote. I voted in favor, but he saw that ISKCON India is really, really against women Diksha Gurus.
Oh, so to keep that together.
You know, he told me, I've changed. I don't support this anymore.
Wow.
Clearly. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, you know, both of them had this sentiment, and Jayapataka Maharaj also. We don't want to disappoint the Western devotees, which means the leadership. That's gender equality proponent. Those who are proponents of gender equality.
Yeah.
We don't want to alienate them, or they didn't use these exact words. It's a paraphrase.
Yeah, yeah.
But Bhakti Charu Maharaj, when in 2019, we passed resolutions stating our, complete opposition, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj voted in favor of that in the bureau meeting in Ahmedabad. So, Jayapataka Maharaj wasn't there. You see that O'Connell conversation is being taken. You've heard of that, Professor O'Connell in Toronto.
Yeah.
Prabhupada met him and a couple other professors, and he asked him, can a woman be a guru? And Prabhupada said, yes, but not so many. So now what is guru? It's not the one who's giving the sacred thread in this case.
It's the one giving Harinam.
No, it can be, Shiksha Guru.
Shiksha Guru.
It may not, Harinam we're all giving, all the women and the men and the children. Okay, we're not giving the beads. We give beads even to people. But it's informal.
Yeah.
It's not official. I accept you as my disciple. It's informal. That's why in the Suniti purport 4.12.32 has nothing to do with gurus. An airplane came to take Dhruva Maharaj to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
But he remembered his mother. So in the purport, Prabhupada says she was his Pata Pradarshika and Shiksha Guru, but could not, being his mother and being a woman, and specifically his mother could not be his Diksha Guru. So what do we understand from that? Mother is the first guru, teaches us how to speak, how to defecate.
Yeah.
Whether here it's go to the toilet. In India, there were no toilets. In the Vishnu Purana, it says you have to go out of the village a certain distance and then defecate. That's natural. All of these plumbing, and it's Ugra Karma. It's Ugra Karma. There are still, people who are Jains and others. They will only defecate outside. They won't in a toilet. It's not Vedic culture. Now, India, the Hindu party has to say we made so many toilets. There's such a propaganda that having a toilet is, the end all and be all. It's not part of Vedic culture. Urination, defecation was out in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's biodegradable. It goes back into the earth. So the Mother Earth is mother.
So you're saying there's a distinction between like the formal initiation and
Absolutely.
and just the kind of giving of the shiksha.
See, who gave Krishna Diksha? Wasn't Sandipani. It was Gargamuni, Gargacharya.
Right.
So what was that Diksha? Yagnopavid. They didn't have it in Nanda Bhavan. And Nanda Maharaj were Vaishyas. Why didn't they have it? Because Dvijati. Jati means birth. Dvi means two, second birth.
Yeah.
Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya.
So why isn't there some middle ground that the females can give Harinam initiation, but not Yagyopavat initiation?
Because the Guru is one. Now, sometimes the Guru passes away after the first, and then who will give the second? But it's on behalf of the first, considered like that. Another thing, you want Varnashram. You want the Brahmin caste. Brahmin class, you don't say caste. It's not by birth. But those who study Vedas, Vedic literature, and teach it. So that's Shiksha Guru. Right? That's Shiksha. But the women don't do that guruship also. It's all over India. It's ancient tradition. Parampara is also translated as tradition.
Yeah.
Parampara means tradition. So the traditions are Vedic. They weren't man-made. This Ritvik system of initiation, there's a Pandit, he's still there. He made his son a Pandit. He's a Madhva Brahmin in Baroda. So I said, what is this Ritvik system of initiation? Manasika Nirmita Vidhi. Manasika Nirmita, concocted in the mind system. That's what it is.
He said that's what it was?
Yeah, that's what I said, that they're saying that only Prabhupada can be the guru, and he continues to give initiation. And it's a mental concoction.
Mm-hmm.
So women giving the sacred thread, it's a mental concoction. There's no tradition. There's no Shastra Pramana. And, what is it? What's the word? Conversely, on the other hand.
Conversely, yeah.
In Pancharatra, it says women cannot give mantras. Now you say Prabhupada gave women the mantras.
I was just about to say that.
Right. Not you, everybody. So the only explanation was he made an adjustment because he was a great acharya. Why did he do that? Here's the logic according to me. And it's going to be rejected. It's going to be rejected by the gender equality leaders.
Sure.
He wanted the deity worship to go on. It was all Westerners.
Yeah.
In those days. He didn't want to hire Brahmins. Even in Vrindavan, he didn't hire the principal was a guy who shouldn't have been the principal. He had that principle that everyone should volunteer. And it shouldn't be paid. So, to worship those deities, you need a second initiation. I remember when I joined, you couldn't cook for the deities unless you had second initiation.
Yeah.
There's a god brother who's a Ritvikist who's arguing with me every day. Somehow I have an affectionate relation with him. But he's way off ideologically. See, their Bangalore group is serving prasadam to thousands of children. The midday meals, Akshaya Patra.
Akshaya Patra, yeah.
So what is prasadam? It's foodstuffs cooked by Brahmins and offered to deities. Not any Ramesh, Mahesh, or Suresh from the road.
Yeah.
If they're Mahesh, Suresh, or Mahesh, it's good. Your father's Mahesh.
Yes.
It could be Ahmed or Abraham or,
Anyone, yeah.
How can it be prasadam? They hired people to cook, hired people to deliver it. It's social welfare work for which he's been honored by the government of India for being because the politicians, they love social welfare workers. They're themselves social welfare workers. They're not propagating Vedic culture per se, although the present government is super, put it like that, favorable to Vedic culture. Mm-hmm. They want to protect Vedic culture, which, it's all those people in Pakistan were followers of Vedic culture. Upaganastanam, Gandhari was from Kandahar.
I'm still having a hard time understanding that if the women got the mantra from Srila Prabhupada, can't they pass it along to someone else?
Why didn't they get the thread? It was a time and circumstance, you see, action of a great acharya to make sure deity worship went on in places where there were no traditional Brahmins.
So now going forward, do you think women should get the mantra?
Well, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj is giving it, contrary to what their propaganda is going on.
That's what I heard, that he's not giving it.
He's giving it. In fact, my daughter was going to take it from him in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
And then decided not to go due to circumstances. Not that she didn't want the second initiation.
Sure.
But it's not really the Vedic culture for women to cook for deities in temples. At home, the Griha Devatas are there.
Sure.
Worshipped by the women.
Yeah.
But in all the big temples in India, there are no women. Jagannath Puri, they may be not following strictly the principles that we follow.
Yeah.
But there's no women cooking for the deities. That, Sabarimala temple in Kerala, Prabhupada was asked about that. Ayappa, the supposedly son of Shiva and Mohini.
Yes.
So Prabhupada was asked by a Keralite devotee who's long gone, is this a true story? And Prabhupada said, if it's in the Puranas, it's true. But they don't give any Puranic pramana for that, that there was a son produced by Mohini and Shiva. Bhagavatam says he ejaculated.
Right.
And then there was gold and silver mines.
Mercury and things.
Yeah, things came from that, but not that he produced a son.
Right.
But they don't allow women who have a menstrual cycle to visit that temple. You know that, right?
No,
so
I didn't
there's
know that.
Gender equality some gender equality advocates wanted to forcibly enter the temple, and they were prohibited by the public,
Wow.
So, girls who are below puberty, or what's it called?
Menopause or something.
Post-menopause.
Yes.
Are allowed to go there.
Wow.
Anyway, it's not a regular, because the main temples there are Krishna temples, right, in Kerala.
Yeah.
Guruvayur and Ananta Padmanabh.
Yes.
The richest temple in India.
Yeah.
Richer than Tirupati.
Right.
So, this is the ancient tradition, and there's a reason for that. It's not that women are hated. That's the whole propaganda that liberal leftist ISKCON leaders are saying you're misogynists and you hate women. That's wrong. It's the Vedic, it was your constitutional position. Women have a different constitution. A man cannot have a baby. He cannot nurture a child with milk. And their maternal instincts, home life. They're weaker physically. And it's just, it's proven. That's why there's a lot of controversy about these so-called transgenders competing against women when they're not actually biologically women.
Yeah, they're beating them all.
It's artificial. You're creating a woman artificially by injections, surgery. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Now you may say, well, this is nonsense. Why am I speaking into a microphone, which is artificial, over the internet, which is artificial? It's true. We're sitting in chairs. We're not sitting on the floor. When Prabhupada met Danilu, he sat in a chair. So it's time and circumstance. But what is the basic principle was to have Vedic culture. Prabhupada said about New Vrindavan, it's not fit for human habitation. It gets so cold there. It's like Badrinath. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like Badrinath in the, nobody stays in Badrinath in the winter.
Yeah.
For 6 months, it's closed. It's all snow.
Yeah,
you can't do anything there.
Yeah.
You can't have agriculture in all of North America except for a few places.
Yeah.
All the vegetables are produced in the Sad Hakim Valley and sent all over the country by trucks. The truck driver's life is miserable. We could go on and on.
I can understand why people would say that it's maybe not as far as to say misogynistic, but it's because it's to the Western mindset, it's so foreign.
That's my point earlier by raising that Playboy magazine example.
Yeah.
We are given the wrong teachings from the beginning. You know, do you go to Costco?
Yeah.
We go to Costco. It's a butcher shop. We shouldn't go there, but we go.
Yeah.
And then in the checkout line, we see the people with the meat and the eggs. And what do? The government has to shut it down, but they say it's a legitimate business. McDonald's. There's a devotee in Dubai who's a big manager in McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah, I went to his house. Manager means corporate level.
Corporate level, yeah.
Right. He's been in the company for years and years.
Oh my gosh.
You should leave the company. But, you know, when you're fixed in doing something, everyone working in here in this country has something to do with making money off of people who kill cows. What does Gita say? Karmanas chapi bodhavyam. You should know what is karma, right? Karmanas chapi bodhavyam, bodhavyam chapi vikarmanaha. What are bad karmas? You should know. Akarmanas cha bodhavyam. And what is the absence of karma? Gahana karmano gatihi. The results of karma are very deep. Gahana. You're making money off of the meat eaters. Not you, my kids, everybody, anyone who lives here.
Yeah.
Oh, in India also now there's a KFC. What was this? Somebody gave an example that, you don't go to, chickens don't go to KFC looking for relief, right?
Oh my God.
I can't remember the whole context of hearing that, but
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I forgot that
this Western civilization, Prabhupada called it a humbug civilization. He condemned it. He used the word humbug, which is an English word.
Yeah.
Meaning nonsense. Now you're living here. He never told everybody pack up and go to India.
Yeah.
But his disciples, he wanted them either to live that type of agrarian life on a farm or preach in the cities. And the leadership somehow, sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. After, Sanskrit scholars joke 10 years is a yuga. So Prabhupada's gone 4.5 yugas back. So who is there to crack the whip? The road show. You heard about it.
Yes.
It's before I joined, 72.
The road show, yeah.
Prabhupada shut it down. Why?
Yeah, he wasn't into it, yeah.
But there's a lot of devotees, my good friends in India and here, strumming guitars, playing an accordion even. Hare Krishna. We're liberal. We love those people. But yeah, Prabhupada didn't want the Western music. He wanted kirtan, mridangas and kartals.
Mm-hmm. I guess another thing is that if we are trying to go towards Vedic culture, but we try to put that into the West, and we expect all the women to just raise children and be in the home and be protected and all, that's a little bit of a pipe dream in some ways. Like that would never happen.
Women naturally make friends with other women. If you go to the temples here also, the women hang out with women.
Yeah.
They don't hang out with the men. And if they hang out with the men, it's whether it's in India or India, sex is everywhere.
Yeah.
Illicit sex is everywhere. The attraction of a man for a woman, it doesn't stop when you're 93, you marry for the 5th time. Well, he has money. Okay. People who have money did it in the past, also had many wives. Or kings. Or Kshatriyas. Rich Vaishyas. Dhritarashtra had a Vaishya wife. Dhritarashtra was a king. Gandhari had 100 sons, but he had another son, right? Yuyutsu, who fought with the Pandavas against the Kauravas.
Right.
He had a Vaishya wife. Now you can use that example to say, well, women can be Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas. But there's other where women are considered the same as Shudras. But the Bhagavatam says, Shri Shudra Dvija Bandhu Nam, they're kept on that level.
Yeah.
But not that they're hated. It's not like you don't cut off your legs because they're lower than your stomach or your arms or your head. It's one body.
Yeah.
But they're not intellectuals. Women are generally, there are some women, we mentioned running Pepsi. Vedic culture, there were women with extraordinary intelligence. But they just did not enter into the realm of the men because women, there's in the Bhagavatam, right, in the first canto, where the women of Dwarka are on the top of the palace because of their Prabhupada comments. The shyness of women is protected by staying away from the men on the street. It's a long discussion. Obviously, we're not going to conclude today.
Yes.
And but Prabhupada had ideals that he got from his guru. And, there was leniency and there was also not fanaticism, but what do you call it? Strict adherence.
Yeah.
There's a difference between strict adherence and fanaticism. And he wanted his disciples to be strict. Now, I'm not 100% strict, right? I mean, I can admit to some of my faults, and there's some faults I won't admit to. But, I'm not the perfect person. Mm-hmm. But there were guidelines, again and again, Prabhupada said no divorce. He said divorce is for animals. So how can it be tolerated? Well, it's the reality of a lot of Prabhupada disciples. So I'm not propagating that they should be kicked out. But it's not ideal. And this thing is going to happen to future generations. They're going to see, that there was a lot of divorces and remarriages, but it's not Vedic culture.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, Prabhupada wrote many letters to women, do not remarry. He told, don't remarry. But they remarried. So we're not kicking them out, and I'm not saying we should kick them out. But I'm just saying it's not ideal. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to argue that it's okay, well, you can't. It's not okay, but prostitutes were devotees. Pingala in the Bhagavatam. Kubja. Prabhupada didn't use the word prostitute. He said society girl.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why did Krishna go to Kubja? That's explained by Prabhupada. In the Krishna book is, there's purport mixed in with the story.
Yes.
So she's considered another energy, external energy, like Durga. Anyway, we cannot force anybody to be ideal. But we're supposed to be teaching certain ideals.
Yeah.
And changing them is ideologically wrong. It's a compromise. So where do you end the compromise? Then you don't have the teachings anymore. You have Ekankar. They don't look like Sikhs. They don't dress like Sikhs. They don't eat, chole bhature. But they're propagating an idea that came from Punjab, Sant Mat. Now, there are many, it's like Protestant Christianity. There's 1,000 different churches with different concepts.
I appreciate that there are devotees like yourself and your godbrothers who think and who want things to be a certain way. And then there's your godbrothers who probably are friends of yours who don't agree with you and who think a different way of how to spread Krishna consciousness.
Boy.
Maybe it's not the the same way.
Those people are not friends with me. They don't want to be friends with me. At the same time, I don't have time to, say I go to Alachua.
Yeah.
I don't even bother to try and give a lecture because I know,
Right.
it's a feminist stronghold management.
Right.
I'm not a placard-carrying opponent of the management there. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But, I have some friends there, and they're not the ones that support feminism.
Yeah.
What is feminism? It's a struggle for a woman's equality with men. Prabhupada was against that. A woman can't be equal to a man. A man can't do what a woman can do. Gender distinction was created by Krishna or Brahma.
Yeah.
Through the agency of Brahma, Krishna created the gender distinction. And that distinction is by artificial means, it doesn't go away. Now it's the material world, the material body. The soul is supposed to be feminine, the servant of Krishna. But in the spiritual world, there are males and females both. That's what we understand.
Yeah.
Right.
I appreciate that so what I was going to say was I appreciate that there's different devotees who have different ways of expressing or preaching or teaching Krishna consciousness. You have a certain way, and then there's the devotees that have a other certain way. But you all can say that you're within ISKCON. ISKCON's so huge. ISKCON is so many devotees, so many different kinds of devotees. So you're going to naturally have the spectrum, the gray, the 256 shades of gray of how devotees are going to be, right?
Yeah, I have friends in ISKCON who put pictures of Jesus on their altar or Buddha.
Right.
But Prabhupada didn't do that.
Right.
Right. So,
but
he said Jesus is our guru, Muhammad is our guru.
Yeah.
But he didn't preach from the Bible.
Right.
I heard lectures.
But you're not going to condemn anyone for doing that, right?
Well, I won't approve of it.
But that's their life, though, right?
There are devotees, God brothers, and non-God brothers. In their lectures, they say Jesus told the disciples. No, Jesus told the apostles. Saint Francis of Assisi said. Prabhupada never quoted once this type of, it's in the, as you sow, so shall you kill, so shall you reap. That was about it.
Or forgive them for
No, not that. The 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill.
No, that's not kill, okay.
Yeah, and then it's not murder, it's kill. Whereas murder means a human being shouldn't be killed.
Right, kill could mean any living entity.
Prabhupada was not propagating Christianity. Judaism, Islam, he was propagating Hinduism, the Vedic religion of South Asia. But it was all over the world 5,000 years ago, we believe. And Kali Yuga meant degradation. People became Malechas and Yavanas. The Kshatriyas were driven out of India by Parashuram. So where did they go? Europe.
Yeah.
They were, at that time, they became barbarians. What were they? There was no...
Vikings and things.
No.
That was later.
Even before that, there was no religion. Vikings also, and who were the supposedly ancient inhabitants of Europe? Barbarians.
Right.
They weren't civilized, but in Vedic culture, the civilization, we believe, is thousands of the descriptions of the kings in the Puranas and how they were following Vedic culture. And then the habits of the people in India, such an ancient tradition.
Yeah.
But because of Kali Yuga, yogo nashta parantapa, and, dharma went down.
There's always going to be the ideal and then what the reality is, right? Of how everyone's going. Kali Yuga.
Right.
I mean, that's how I think of it. Anyway, Prabhu, we're almost at 2 hours, but thank you.
2 hours?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, see the time there? I said ISO record, underneath it says 1:52. Yeah.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
We're supposed to go to... Oh, we don't put this in the...
Sure. No, I mean, we'll cut this, but let me finish first. And then, so thank you, Prabhu, for joining me. I really appreciate you coming out here and talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
What can I say? It's an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, be careful about too much water in the milk. Because then,
Yeah.
if Prabhupada had wanted to preach Christianity, he could have.
Yes.
I remember before I joined, I had brief encounters with Christians, not with Muslims, but Christians of different, and then there was the hippie ideology, which was quasi-Hindu.
Yeah.
Be Here Now. You heard of that book?
Be here now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was, other ideologies, Prabhupada wasn't propagating those things.
Yeah.
And there is a type of Prabhupada fanaticism, but he's our guru. And he definitely had opinions on modern society. And what has changed? The cars have become better, but they're still cars. It's a combustion. Oh, there's electric cars, but it's still artificial.
Yeah.
He wanted bullock carts. He wanted at the end to go in a bullock cart to Govardhan. And, there was a bullock cart that went from Hyderabad to Mayapur, and he welcomed that. And
Hey, you said this automobile thing was going to be over
Right.
in 50 years or something.
100 years.
100 years or something.
Motor
yeah.
car civilization.
Motor
he
car
called it.
civilization. Yeah.
It may go longer, but where was it for thousands and thousands of years?
Yeah.
There were animals. They weren't killed for food.
Yeah.
There was this, what's the word, symbiotic relationship? Is that the correct expression between animals and men?
Yeah.
Hardly see animals now in urban.
No, nothing.
It's meant for rural type of agrarian existence,
Yes.
agrarian life.
Thank you, Prabhu, again.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. If you want to get in touch with Basu Ghosh Prabhu, I'm going to put his contact in the description of this video. Today's sponsor of this podcast is a company called Krishna's Closet. If you like this t-shirt, it's a play on the Adidas brand. Adidas, original servant. It's a really cool shirt. I'll put the link to get these shirts also in the comments. And as always, like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you liked it. The Namras podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good night. Thank you again, Prabhu, for joining. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.